with you all. So today we'll do active and passive immunity. I hope you all can see the screen. Okay. So immunity, as we all know, what is immunity? Immunity is the our antibodies, our defense mechanism, which comes in action as our body faces some foreign particles or some foreign or virus or bacteria as it enters inside your body, and in response to it, when your body produces protective antibodies, that is the immunity. Okay, so a person is said to be immune when he possesses specific protective antibodies or cellular immunity as a result of previous infection or immunization. Okay, so our topic is active and passive immunization. So let us first know about what is active immunity and what is passive immunity. Hmm? So active immunity, it under that you have humoral immunity, cellular immunity, and a combination of both. Then you have passive immunity, and passive immunity, under that you have the normal human IgG, the specific human IgG, then the animal antitoxin and antisera. Okay, so in our, I think last semester we have done humoral immunity and cellular immunity. So all that comes under active immunity. And then passive immunity, the normal human antibodies, the specific human antibodies, then the animal antitoxin and antisera. Antitoxin and antisera, I hope you understand the term antitoxin and antisera. Antitoxin means against the toxin. Okay, it is produced in an animal against the toxin or against the antigen, so it's called antitoxin or antisera. You understand? The term antitoxin and antisera, they are developed in an animal against that specific antigen. Okay, so they become animal antitoxin and antisera when they're produced in an animal. So, about active immunity, an individual develops as a result of infection or by specific immunization. Associated with presence of antibodies or cells having a specific action on microorganisms concerned with a particular infectious disease. So specific it is specific and it is against a particular infection or a particular antigen. Hmm? Then it depends upon the humoral and cellular response of the host. Okay, we have done this humoral and cellular responses in the previous semester. So this active immunity depends upon the humoral and cellular responses of the host, specific for a particular disease or infection. As I told you, it is specific against a particular antigen or infection. Acquired in three ways following clinical infection, that is chickenpox, measles, or also any infection. When your body is has faced any infection, it surfaces. Then following some subclinical infection like polio and diphtheria, then following immunization with an antigen. Immunization is nothing but vaccination. So we have to discuss about active immunization and passive immunization. So before that, let us understand what is active immunity and passive immunity. So here, vaccine, we all know, we are aware about the vaccine. We know about the vaccine thing, which is all going around nowadays. Immunization and what happens when you get vaccinated. How your body responds, starts responding. After a few days, your body produces antibodies against that antigen. Right now, it is the corona vaccine which is around, but you have many other vaccines. And so when once you get vaccinated or once you get there, you immunized, you produce antibodies against the antigen or against the infection. It can be measles vaccine, it can be rubella vaccine, it can be tuberculosis vaccine, it can be anything. Rabies vaccine. So your body starts producing antibodies against it. Okay, it can be live attenuated vaccine, it can be killed vaccine, and toxoid. I hope you'll understand these terms. I have explained to you attenuated also. What is attenuation also? I have explained to you. So it can be a live attenuated vaccine or it can be a killed vaccine. Okay, what is attenuation? What is attenuation? Attenuation is when the particular pathogen or virus becomes avirulent. Okay, it becomes avirulent. Hmm? So that is called attenuation when the virulent part of the virus is removed. The virulent part of the virus is removed, so it is attenuated. Now, immune responses, it can be primary, it can be primary. Under primary responses, it is when an antigen is administered for the first time to an animal or human. There is a latent period of induction, that is 3 to 10 days before antibodies appear. So this is what they are doing right now. They give a vaccine, and where it takes around 10 days or 15 days for your body to produce antibodies. Okay, so antibody elicited first is entirely of the IgM type. Then IgM antibody titer rises steadily during the next 2 3 days, reaches a peak, and then declines almost as fast as it was developed. Hmm? If the antigenic stimulus was sufficient, IgG appears in few days, reaches a peak 7 to 10 days, and then gradually falls. So you understand how it works. Hmm? Immune response, primary immune response, when an antigen is administered for the first time into a human body or an animal body, you have to give a time of 3 to 10 days. That is called as an induction, a latent period of induction. So during these 3 to 10 days, they produce antibodies appear. Before induction of 3 to 10 days before antibodies appear. Then as the antibodies appear, it is first the IgM type. We have studied the different antibodies, IgG, IgM, Ig. So this first, when it comes, it is the IgM which is elicited first. Then it rises, it reaches a peak and then declines. And after that, if the antigenic stimulus was sufficient, okay, then the IgG appears within 7 to 10 days, reaches a peak within 7 to 10 days, and then gradually falls over a period of weeks or months. So then you do the booster dose. Okay, after that, what you do is after a month or so, you do the booster dose for the antibodies to generate again. Okay, nature and extent of primary response is determined by number of factors. That is, dose of antigen, nature of antigen, route of administration of adjuvants, presence of maternal antibody, nutritional status, and genetic and coexisting diseases. Okay, so this is what you need to understand, that the response is different from person to person. Now, as we are aware of the news around us, even we say sometimes, even though they are vaccinated, they have fallen sick. Okay, after vaccination, also they get corona, and after vaccination, also many people have died. So these are the various factors which depend upon, on which the antibody response depends upon. So it is different from person to person. Every person does not react in the same way as the other one, although the vaccine administered is same. Okay, the vaccine administered is same, but few die, few are not able to take it, their body doesn't respond properly to the vaccine. Okay, and few are not able to recover, they're not able to come out of it, they fall sick. Okay, and few catch the infection even after vaccination. There are many examples, there are many people you would have heard who are infected even after vaccination. Okay, some are infected even after 2 doses of vaccination. Okay, even after 2 doses, some have got corona and they have died also. There were many who died even after vaccination, you know that. So that is because it differs on various factors. Okay, here they have told about dose and nature of antigen. In a vaccine, when you give, it is the same, but then you have different factors like the maternal antibodies. Like already you may be having some antibodies in some cases, Then the nutritional status of the host. Okay, how, what is the nutritional status of the host? So to whomever they have injected the vaccine, so how much efficient his body is to produce antibodies. Okay, you have to see that how much efficient that person is. And healthy individual will respond in a much better way than a patient. Okay, it's mostly said that heart patients and BP patients, and there are many factors, no, it was given like those people cannot take vaccines. So the such kind of things come into picture when vaccination is given. So here one is like presence of maternal antibody, then nutritional status of the host, how healthy the host is when you have given the vaccine, how healthy he is to take the vaccine and respond and produce antibodies against it. Then the genetic and coexisting diseases. Okay, so if he is already having some diseases, like that's what I told you, like if they're diabetes patient, BP patient, or heart patient, or some other organ failure, so those people cannot take the vaccine because of their health conditions. And also genetic factors come up in picture when you talk about this primary response. Then an important outcome of primary antigenic challenge is education of reticuloendothelium system of the body. Okay, so how does your reticuloendothelium system respond to this? Hmm? Then production of memory cells or primed cells by both B and T lymphocytes. Okay, so how do they production of memory cells? Antibody production we have studied in last semester. We have studied the B and T response of B and T lymphocytes, and in the final stage, if anybody remembers, it was the memory cells which were producing antibodies. Okay, production of memory. So finally, it was the memory cells which produce antibodies. So production of memory cells or prime cells by both P and T lymphocytes. Okay, so that is why memory cells play an important role. Then these cells are responsible for immunological memory. Okay, the B and T cells are responsible for immunological memory, the memory cells. I'm sorry. Then the secondary response. Okay, all this was about the primary response. Then the secondary response. Under the primary response, what have we covered? Under primary response, what have we covered? Asma, can you tell? Asma, I hope Asma is there in the class. Asma, you have to speak a little loudly. Asma, can you tell me what we have covered in primary response? Okay. Asma is not responding. Under primary response, we have covered that how much time the body takes to respond to produce antibodies. Okay, then first it is the IgM, and then it is the IgG. If the antigenic stimulus was sufficient, then it is the IgG. Okay, then it depends upon the dose of antigen, it depends upon the nature of antigen, then route of administration, adjuvants. Then it depends upon the metal and antibodies if they were present, nutritional status of the host, and genetic coexisting diseases. So all these comes under the factors which depend upon the primary response. Then secondary response, okay, that is the booster dose I told you all. So differs in number of ways from the primary response. It has a shorter latent period. Okay, where in case of the primary response, your body takes more time to produce the antibodies. Okay, but in the secondary immune response, it responds faster because already it has gone through the first phase where antibodies were produced. So second time when you give the booster dose, the antibodies are produced faster. Okay, so it has a shorter latent period. That is why it says it has a shorter latent period. Then production of antibody more rapid. Hmm? So production of antibody is more rapid because it is the booster phase. Then antibody more abundant. Antibody response maintained at higher levels for a longer period of time. Hmm? In this case, the antibody response is maintained at a higher level for much longer period of time. Then antibody have greater capacity to bind to the antigen. So in the second booster response, if the antibodies have more binding capacity to the antigen. Okay. So all these are the factors for secondary response. That is a booster dose when the body is given a booster dose. I hope you all are understanding. Then coming to humoral immunity. What were we studying? We were doing active and passive. I hope you all remember. Under active, it was, what did you do under active? Hmm? Under active, you have humoral, you have cellular, and a combination of both. Then you have, under passive, you have normal IgG, specific human antibodies, and animal antitoxins. Okay? Don't forget. So, we are discussing about humoral now. Comes from the B cells, that is the bone marrow derived lymphocytes, which proliferate and manufacture specific antibodies after antigen presentation by macrophages. Then antibodies circulate in the body and act directly by neutralizing the microbe or its toxin. So in this case, in humoral, what happens? It is produced by the B cells, that is the bone marrow derived lymphocytes. Hmm? Then they circulate in the body and act directly by neutralizing the microbe or its toxin. Then antibodies are specific. They react with same antigen which provoke their production. I told you antigen antibody reactions are very specific. So here they are very specific and they react with the same antigen against which they are produced. Hmm? It will not provide protection against more than one antigen. It will not provide protection against more than one antigen because they are specific. So it will bind to the same one antigen. It will not bind to two or three antigens because it is specific. Okay, so it will not show protection against more than one antigen. They are all produced in response to one antigen. Then cellular immunity. Hmm? Some pathogens escape the bactericidal action of leukocytes like leprae, tuberculosis bacteria, then typhi. They escape the bactericidal action of leukocytes. I have explained you bactericidal and bacteriostatic also in the last class. Cidal means where it is killed and static means where the growth is stopped. So stimulation of macrophages by T lymphocytes. Activated macrophages perform a more efficient phagocytic action. T cell do not secrete antibody but are recognition for antigen. Okay, in this case, the T cells do not secrete antibodies. Here, the T cells were secreting antibodies in humoral, but in cellular, the T cells do not secrete antibodies but are recognition for antigen. Okay, so they remain as recognition sites. T cells they remain as recognition sites for the antigen. Okay, I hope it's clear. I hope it's clear till here. Difference between humoral and cellular. Humoral produced by B cells. Hmm? And they proliferate manufacture against specific antibodies. They circulate throughout the body and act directly by neutralizing the microbe or its toxin. Okay, so they do it directly and they are specific. Here it is produced by the macrophages, stimulation of macrophages by specific stimulated T lymphocytes. Then activated macrophages perform a much more efficient phagocytic action. T cells do not secrete antibody but are recognition sites. Okay, so in this case, they do not produce antibodies but are recognition sites for antigens. Now, on contact with antigen, the T cells initiate a chain of responses. Okay, so when they come in contact with an antigen, the T cells they initiate a chain of responses that includes activation of macrophages, release of cytotoxic factors, mononuclear inflammatory reactions, and delayed hypersensitivity reaction, then secretion of immunological mediators. Okay, all this comes under the initiation. When the T cells initiate a chain of responses. Okay, so when there is initiation, what happens? There is activation of macrophages, there is release of cytotoxic factors, then the mononuclear inflammatory reactions, then there is delayed hypersensitivity reaction, and then secretion of immunological mediators. Okay, responsible for immunity against diseases like TB and brucellosis. TB is tuberculosis and brucellosis. So the cellular immune response is responsible against it for immunity against these diseases. Then in some cases you have combination of both. So where B and T lymphocyte cells both cooperate with one another. Such as macrophages and killer cells and their joint functions constitute the complex events of immunity. Okay, so in some cases the B cells and the C cells respond together. They cooperate with one another, and with certain accessory cells such as macrophages and killer cells and their joint functions, they constitute the complex events of immunity. Indu is there in the class. Indu had joined, no? She left. Okay. Sahiti, is it clear? Are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Shiba?
Yes, ma'am.
Shiba, are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Pragati, Asma, Akshya, I hope it's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So we were in this slide. Okay. So as I told you, it was humoral, it was cellular, then humoral, and we have discussed about when it is both. Hmm? Combination of both. Then coming to passive immunity. And what happens in case of passive? When the antibodies produced in one body are transferred to another to induce protection against the disease. Okay, this is called as and passive. Body does not produce its own antibodies, depends upon ready-made antibodies. I'll explain you this. Passive immunity may be induced by administration of an antibody containing preparation, okay, transfer of maternal antibodies across placenta, then transfer of lymphocytes to induce passive cellular immunity. So this you need to understand this. So in case of active, you have studied cellular, humoral, and both. Okay, in humoral, what was it? In humoral, it was tell humoral. It was the B cells. which were producing, that is the bone marrow cells which were producing antibodies against the specific antigen, and they circulate within the body. Then in cellular, what it is, the T cells. It is by specific stimulation of the T cell, T lymphocytes. Then activated macrophages perform much more efficient phagocytic action. T cells do not secrete antibody but are recognition sites. Okay, it works with the stimulation of macrophages. In this case, there is stimulation of macrophages, and T cells, they act as recognition sites for antigens. Okay, and then there is a combination of both. This happens in case of active. In case of passive, what happens? Your body doesn't produce antibodies. Okay, your body is not producing antibodies. Antibodies are induced inside your body, which will give you protection against the disease. Now, how is this done? How do you do this? Supposing it is tuberculosis. Okay, supposing it is tuberculosis, then we use experimental animals like rabbits or guinea pigs. Okay, we use experimental animals like rabbits and guinea pigs, and what do they do is they inject this virulent or attenuated strain of Mycobacterium tuberculosis into guinea pigs or rabbits. So what happens is, because of this, they produce antibodies. The animals, they produce antibodies against this tuberculosis bacteria. They are a virulent strain which they have injected. The animal body produces antibodies. Now, this antibody is against the tuberculosis bacteria. So this is collected from the animal blood, okay, and it can be used as an antibody, which is again injected into a human being. Okay, these antibodies can be injected into human beings, and they they get protection against the disease. Okay, did you understand this part? Passive immunity is where your body is not producing the antibodies. It is produced in another human being, or it is produced in another animal. Okay, and then you have to collect it from the blood or serum, and it is then injected into the person suffering from the disease. Okay, so when you inject it into the person suffering from the disease, the person gets immunization or protection against the disease. Okay, so this is what is passive immunity, where your body does not produce its own antibodies. Depends upon ready-made antibodies. That does comes under passive immunity. So your body is not producing antibodies. Then it may be induced by administration of antibody containing preparation. Okay, so as I told you, it is collected from another animal or human being, and it is a preparation of immunoglobulin or antiserum. This can be injected into the human, which another person who is suffering from the disease. So this is one. Okay, next is transfer of maternal antibodies across the placenta. Okay, this you all know, that is during the birth, the child gets maternal, that is the mother's antibodies from the placenta. Okay, so this is the second option, where your body is not producing antibodies, but it is you getting it from some another person or so. And the third one is transfer of lymphocytes to induce passive cellular immunity. Okay, so in this case, there is transfer of lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are directly induced, are injected to induce passive cellular immunity. Okay, I hope it is clear. Passive immunity differs from active immunity in the following respect, that is, immunity is rapidly established, immunity produced is only temporary. Okay, because it is injected into your body, it is not, your body is not producing it. If your body is producing it, it is a long lasting immunity, but when it is injected, it is only that much of amount of antibodies which is present inside your body. Okay, so it is a temporary one. No education of reticuloendothelial system. So you don't have to study the reticuloendothelial system for this. So this is about the passive immunity. Active I hope it is clear. Hmm? Who will tell me? Okay. Pragati?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Akshay?
Yes, ma'am.
Prashant?
Yes, ma'am.
So you all got the difference between active and passive?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Hmm? Active is it is by your body with the help of the B cells and the T cells, or sometimes with the combination of both. Okay, that under that you have studied the cellular and humoral. Then the passive one is when your body is not producing the antibodies. It is injected in an animal or in a human being, and there it develops antibodies, and those antibodies are collected from the blood or serum of that person or animal, and that is then injected into the patient. Okay, and that when injected into the patient gets protection or immunization against the disease. Okay, so that is the passive one. So passive one is when you inject it. Second, when you when it gets transferred through the placenta. And third, what was the third one? What was the third one?
Lymphocytes.
Hmm? What was the third one? Transfer of lymphocytes to induce passive and cellular immunity. Okay, so when you inject lymphocytes, which will induce passive cellular immunity. So that is the third one. Then what is how does it differ? It differs that immunity is established rapidly because it is directly antibodies are injected. It is rapid development. Then it is only temporary because you have administered only a particular dosage. Okay, you have administered only a particular dose, so that is a temporary period for which it will work because your body is not producing. It is externally administered. Then no education, you need not study about the reticuloendothelial system for this. Then how is the active immunity is superior to passive immunity? Because duration of protection is long lasting. Okay, the protection is long lasting. Then severe reactions are rare. Okay, because it is finally it is foreign and it is injected in your body, so there are chances of reactions. Then protective efficacy is more in case of active. Then active immunization is less expensive. Of course, when it is generated by your within your body, it is less expensive. It is less expensive as compared to passive immunization, where you have to generate the antibodies and then collect it and then administer it to the patient. So, of course, it is a cost consuming process. So, this is what we were trying to understand about active and passive immunity. I hope it's clear. Hmm? Anybody wants repetition? Hmm? So we have done humoral, cellular, and a combination of both under active. Then under passive, it is normal. So it can be from human. It can be developed in a human. Okay, normal human antibodies. It can be specific human antibodies. It can be animal antitoxin and antisera. As I've told you, it can be injected in an animal and produced in an animal, so it is called as an antitoxin because the toxin was injected into the animal. Okay, the toxin was in, like the tuberculosis toxin I gave you an example, was injected into the animal, and when the animal has produced antibodies against it, it is called as antitoxin or anti-sera because the sera was injected into the animal, and what in response was produced is called as an anti-sera. Then active. I told you all it is specific, depends upon humoral and cellular. Hmm? And following clinical infections, clinical infection are you so active is when does your body starts developing antibodies? When does your body starts developing antibodies? When you come across some infection. Okay, one, when you come across some infection, one subclinical infections. Okay, then it is following immunization. When you are vaccinated, okay, when you're vaccinated, your body starts to to develop antibodies against those vaccine, or that bacteria or virus. So clinical infection can be anything like chickenpox, measles, rubella, malaria, tuberculosis. It can be anything. Hmm? And when you start recovering on your own, means your active immunity was responding. Hmm? When you fall sick and you start responding and you start recovering, it means your body has produced antibodies against it and you are able to cope up with it and you're able to overcome the infection because your active immunity was good. Your body was able to produce antibodies against it. Hmm? Then under this you have studied primary and you have studied secondary. Okay, then you have studied humoral, and humoral is comes from B cells. Okay, and antibodies circulate in the body and act directly by neutralizing the microbe, and it is very specific against the same antigen, that is humoral. And cellular, it is through stimulation of macrophages by specific T lymphocytes. Hmm? Activated macrophages perform a much more efficient phagocytic action. So in cellular, what happens? The T cells, they do not secrete any antibody, but they act as recognition sites for the antigen. Hmm? This is what happens in case of cellular. Okay, then a combination of both. So all this was against active. Remember, all of you, I've repeated a couple of times and more what is active, what is passive. And passive, when your body is not producing antibodies, but it is generated in any animal or human being and then injected into you to get protection against the disease. Okay? Okay. So this was about active and passive immunity. Let us go to active and passive immunization. Hmm? Immunization, as I told you, is vaccination. Okay, active and passive immunization is nothing but active and passive you need to get vaccination. So as the terms, let us make the terms clear. So under natural infection and under artificial, okay, immunization is nothing but vaccination. We are all aware of it. Immunization is nothing but vaccination. So it can be natural, it can be artificial. Hmm? So in case of natural, when it is from the mother, okay, when it is from the mother, when the antibodies transfer through the placenta, then artificial is through vaccination. Antibody dosage, immunoglobulins. So artificial can be through vaccination or when the antibodies are administered to you. Okay. So if you all remember, you have studied history of microbiology and then you have studied about Louis Pasteur, Edward Jenner and all. So Edward Jenner, you remember, we have studied about Edward Jenner also in the last semester. So he was the one who had developed your vaccine against the cowpox, against smallpox in 1796. That was when the first vaccine was developed. Okay, so that dairy maid infected with cowpox. So Edward Jenner was the first one who had developed vaccine against this and also against smallpox. Then Louis Pasteur attenuated rabies virus as vaccination. Okay, he used attenuated rabies virus as vaccination. So I told you attenuated means When the virulent part of the virus is removed and used as a vaccine, it is called attenuation. When you remove the virulent part of the virus or bacteria. This happened in 1885. The first was Edward Jenner. Okay, next it was Louis Pasteur who had developed for rabies. Then in 1901, von Behring he developed antitoxin serum against diphtheria. Okay, so he was the one to develop this antitoxin serum against diphtheria. Then in 1980, WHO proclaimed eradication of smallpox. Okay, because of vaccination, you are able to eradicate a particular disease. Okay, so that is what in 1980 they have said that we could eradicate smallpox. Okay. Now, when we come to vaccination, it involves toxoids, inactivated vaccines, it can be chemo vaccines, it can be recombinant vaccine, it can be attenuated live vaccines. And coming to toxoids, modified form of the toxin that preserves its antigenicity but has lost its toxicity. Okay, you understand? This is what I was trying to explain you when we say attenuated. Okay, when we say attenuated, it means it is antigenic but it is not toxic. So here examples are tetanus with Clostridium tetani, then diphtheria with Corynebacterium diphtheriae, and then staphylococci. So inactivated vaccines, under that you have Bactrians against viruses, auto vaccines, and stock vaccines. So Bactrians, they are carefully killed bacterial suspensions. Vaccines are nothing but when the virus or bacteria is inactivated, or is virulent, is non-pathogenic. So they are, that's part of the bacteria, the virulent part of the virus is removed. Okay, they become non-pathogenic. So vaccines are nothing but the bacteria or virus which is non-pathogenic anymore. I mean, it's non-pathogenic. Okay, so against viruses, it can be influenza virus, polio virus, rabies, tick-borne encephalitis, and one more to this can be added, that is corona. Okay, so the vaccines against influenza, polymyelitis, rabies, tick-borne encephalitis, and to addition over here you have your corona vaccine now. Then auto vaccines. Microbial strain originate from ill. The microbial strains which originate from sick people. So it can be C. albicans, it can be S. aureus, it can be E. coli, it can be H. influenzae. So this is in case of vaginal infections, vaginal cardioidosis. Then stock vaccines, mixture from frequenced laboratory strains. Okay. So when it is developed in a laboratory, they come under stock vaccines. There are different Univac, SNVac, Staffivac, Candivac, and you have the new additions to it. I hope you all know the new additions. Because of Corona, we have new additions to this. Okay. Then coming to the chemo vaccines and recombinant vaccines. So these are all different types of vaccines which can be used. So all these were under the inactivated forms of vaccines. The Bactrians, okay, against virus, again auto vaccines, then stock vaccines. All these come under the inactivated vaccines. Then you have the chemo vaccines and recombinant vaccines. Okay, isolated protected antigens, then bacteria and virus. In this, you have the bacterial and virus and recombinant vaccines also. So, under bacteria, you have Haemophilus influenzae type B, N meningitis, A, C, S, pneumoniae, 23 frequent serotypes. So these all come under the bacterial vaccines against. Then viruses, You have influenza A, hepatitis A, tick-borne encephalitis. So you have vaccine against all these. Then and these are examples. Then recombinant vaccines are made in E. coli. That is example hepatitis B. So these are examples of bacterial vaccines, viruses, and recombinant vaccines. Attenuated live vaccines. Okay, so now what is this? What is attenuation? I have explained to you, but once again, so reproduction in area of giving mild infection, high effectivity, long lasting, and also stimulating cellular immunity. Okay, so it is very important to stimulate the cellular immunity because it will produce antibodies on its own. Okay, and nothing is more safer than this, that your body is producing antibodies on its own. So it is more important to stimulate the cellular immunity. Then attenuation, passaging on in artificial media or on tissue cultures, reducing the virulence. Okay, so you need to grow it on artificial media or tissue cultures where it will in such a way that it reduces the virulence of the bacteria. Hmm? So here examples are BCG, then live virus, polio, then mumps, measles, rubella, yellow fever. All these are examples for live vaccines. Okay, then coming to mixed vaccines. That is, examples are hexavalent or trivalent. Okay, so hexavalent can have three, I mean, I can have six. Hmm? It can have six. Then trivalent can have three. Okay, so it here it will have three strains. Attenuated vaccine combined are rubella, mumps, and measles. Okay, then hexavalent can have six, that is diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, hepatitis B, hemophilus, influenza type B, and polio. Hmm? So hexa, as you all know, hexa means six and tri means three. So you can have mixed vaccines against infections. So it can be hexavalent, having six bacterial viruses strains together, or it can be trivalent, having three strains together. Hmm? I hope it's clear. Pragati?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Asma? Asma, are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then vaccination types. It can be a regular vaccine, it can be a special one, it can be an extraordinary one, it can be given under accidents. Then protecting the traveler, it can be given in case if you're traveling from one place to another, then it can be given on request, like if someone wants the vaccine to be given. So regular is, this calendar depends on country. Like in few countries, it doesn't happen in our country, but in US and all, they follow a schedule, and every year they give vaccines for pneumonia and flu to their people. Common man. Common man is injected. Like now we have started giving vaccine for corona over here, but there in US and all, they commonly have a vaccine list which it is administered to every individual. Okay, it is given to every individual. So that is a regular calendar type. They perform, they do it in a regular schedule that this month of every year you will be given pneumonia vaccine. So every year you have to go during that month and get yourself vaccinated for pneumonia or flu. So flu and pneumonia vaccines are regularly given in other countries. It doesn't happen in India, but it is done in other countries. Then special for person in risk. So someone, if the person has chances of catching hepatitis A or rabies or influenza, you can give the vaccine to them. Then extraordinary, in epidemia or extraordinary situation, like this is what is happening currently over here. The corona pandemic. This comes under extraordinary situations. Okay, when every individual has to be vaccinated. So in epidemia or extraordinary situations like current situation, every individual has to get vaccinated so that we can stop the death rate. Okay, the mortality rate can be reduced and the recovery rate increases. Okay, and the recovery rate increases. That is why you need to get vaccinated regularly. And it can be given in accidents, like you may be knowing, like if you get hurt with an iron rod or iron nail or something, your parents say you just go and take tetanus. Okay, you take, they say that you go and take tetanus because it will prevent infection, any further infection. Okay, it will prevent any further infection. Then protecting the traveler, as I told you, if you're traveling from one place to another, you need to get vaccinated. So it is nowadays a trend, like if you're traveling to US or if you're traveling to any place, first thing you need to have your test done showing that you're negative, and second thing you have to be vaccinated. Okay, so it is easier to travel if you're vaccinated also. Then for request, so if anybody wants to get administered for influenza or he wants to get administered for tick-borne disease or meningococcus, you can get vaccinated, depending upon your interest. Okay. Then artificial passive immunization. So I told you passive is when it is produced on some other body and then injected into you. So that is where it is passive immunization, and it is also artificial because it is done. Okay, it is not natural production of antibodies. It is an artificial impassive immunization. Okay, it is injected into an animal, produced and then taken and injected into a patient. So that is artificial. So it can be animal immunoglobulins, it can be human immunoglobulins. I told you it can be generated in animals or it can be generated into humans. So heterologous animal immunoglobulins, that is anti generis, low effectivity against botulism, staphylococci infections, viperic poison, rabies, allergic reactions. So under all these situations, you need to give immediate medication. Then homologous human immunoglobulins. Okay, various antibody defects, prophylaxis of hepatitis A against sepsis, hard abscending infections, and difficult viruses. Example is Ebola. Okay, so against these cases also you have to give human immunoglobulins. Here it was animal immunoglobulins, here it is human immunoglobulins. So various antibody defects, prophylaxis of hepatitis A against sepsis, hard abscending infections, and difficult viruses. Example, Ebola also. You can give human immunoglobulins. I hope you're understanding and I'm not going too fast. Now, these are just examples. So, these are natural. Tomatoes and bananas produce antigens of diarrhea agents. Okay, that is a natural one. But then DNA vaccines injected into muscle or skin produce protective antigens and cytokines. Okay, and intradermal or mucous application contact with dendritic cells. Then ideal vaccine can be cheap, stable, safe, lifelong protection and effective immunization. Okay. So the ideal vaccine is the one which is of course cheap and stable at room temperature, safe, lifelong protection, okay, and effective immunity. All these comes under ideal vaccines. I hope everything is clear about active immunization and passive immunization. Immunization is nothing but vaccination, and I've told you what is active, what is passive. Active is when your body is developing antibodies against a particular antigen or infection, can be cellular or can be humoral. And passive is when it is injected into your body. Okay, passive means when injected within your body. Clear, all of you? Passive antibodies are those which are generated in another human or animal body and injected within your body for you to gain protection against the disease. Okay, I hope everything is clear about active and passive immunization.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts? Sahiti,
Yes, ma'am.
everything is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
I've explained you about active immunity, passive immunity, hmm, and also active immunization and passive immunization. Immunization is nothing but vaccination. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
Sheba,
Yes, ma'am.
is everything clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubts? Prashant,
No, ma'am.
Akshay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Immunization is vaccination, Asma. I just now told you. Immunization is vaccination, and immunity is about your body. When you're studying about active immunity and passive immunity, immunity is how what is active immunity and what is passive immunity. That is, how does your body respond under active immunity? How does your body respond? It is cellular and humoral. Okay, that is what you're studying, the basics. Okay, that is what this is the first slide which tells you what is active immunity, what is passive immunity. Asma, you had a doubt, you asked. So this is about active immunity and passive immunity. Immunization is when you're getting immunized, that is vaccinated. Hmm? Active immunity will under that you have humoral, cellular, and a combination of both. That when your body responds using both
Immunity
humoral
and
and cellular immunity.
सेम ही दिख रहा
Okay,
ना
and
मैम.
passive is you are injecting the antibodies within the patient for him to get for him to respond. Okay, it can be normal human antibody, it can be specific antibody, or it can be animal antitoxin. As I told you, it is injected within an animal, experimental animal. It can be guinea pig, it can be rabbits. So it is injected within those animals, and when they develop antibodies, those antibodies are collected and injected within a patient or a human being. Okay, so that is animal antitoxin and anti-serum. So when it is produced by the animal origin, when it is animal origin, it is called as animal antitoxin and anti-serum. Okay, clear, Asma?
Okay, ma'am.
Is it clear? Okay. So we'll end the class here and we'll start with the third unit in the next class. Hmm? I hope first and second units were clear to all of you. Arvind, any doubt? Shrija,
No, ma'am.
Shrija, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
You have understood the topic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll end the class. See you all in the next class. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Yeah, thank you.